Okay. So I'm going to explain everything you need to know about the Stop Killing Games stuff. Okay. I will also, for those of you who came for the video for this, be explaining some of the drama surrounding it and completely summarizing it where you don't have to dig around and deal with all this shit. And I'm going to make it very, very simple because there is a lot of stuff to unpack. Okay, so what is the movement Stop Killing Games? What is the initiative? It's a group of gamers and fans trying to stop companies from shutting down games that people still want to play. That is the simplest way to put it. Now, what that means is they are against companies selling you something, and then after they sell you something, terminating that service to where you cannot play again. There has been several times, even recently, that people have bought a game that is online play and that has no single player, and they cannot play, and they do not get a refund because the company is either dissolving or whatever, or they just don't want to give them. You would think that in most cases you should get a refund, and sometimes people have, but in general, especially with like CD copies and stuff like that, no. Like, actually, these people just, I mean, picture this. Picture you're a guy who bought a game, and then 2 weeks later, the servers get shut down. I know a long time ago that this was an issue because I used to play Matrix Online. I got to play for maybe 6 months. Maybe. I don't even know how long I got to play. I didn't get to play that long. But the point is, I paid full price for a game that I could not play, essentially. So, that's what they're against. They're against companies simply shutting service off when people still want to keep the game alive and want to keep playing. Which, you know, that's a lot of us. You know, if we had the choice, obviously we'd keep playing. I know that when EQOA got shut down, there's not a single player on this planet who played that game who wouldn't bring it back. So, their main goal is to protect games so they don't disappear when companies shut them down. What they want to happen is they want companies to let people keep playing old games, even if the companies stop supporting them. What they're asking for is new rules and laws forcing companies to let the games stay alive in some way. Whether that be an offline mode for like a single player thing, a fan run server, like let a company even, you know, this could even be something where they make money, you know? Hey, I'm a private company. I want to buy a license to run the fan server, but I want to keep your stuff alive to where you can still log in with your account. They could do that. Theoretically, this could have been done the whole time. And people know it, and that's why they're kind of pissed, is because this could have been a thing the entire time. There are so many companies selling your information and exchanging information and everything. This is not any riskier than anything else. So basically, private server, someone who could run it would purchase a license from them and then keep it online with the account information, not starting a new account and all that stuff. That would be pretty cool. Or, again, an offline mode where people could theoretically play most games offline. Like any single player game would be totally fine with this, but you see companies have taken single player and made them multiplayer. And that's a big issue because once the games go down, and I'll give you one instance of this where it actually worked out is the new SimCity had online stuff, and then when they decided to, you know, pull the rug out from under us, even from the players who liked the game, all their online stuff was shut off. But the game continued to go. You know, and they wouldn't do any new updates and they wouldn't do anything else, but you know, that's kind of the best example I have of something that I went through. how they think it should work is if a company shuts down a game, they should release tools or codes so fans can keep it running, or a third-party company, or someone who wants to pick up the mantle. And they could make money from this. This doesn't have to be a thing where the company doesn't make money, because the movement has been misrepresented, which we will get into at the end of this, because I just want to run through the rest of these. Why it matters to them. Players spend money, time, and memories in these games, and it's not fair to have them vanish. And that's totally fair. I think that is especially when you're asking for some of these, $100 editions of these games. I know that I spent $100 for the Warhammer game, and if that were to go offline, then, the same situation. It's like I spent $100, and they don't have any obligation to refund you. They can just cut service, and it doesn't matter. And then their big idea is games are like art or history. They should be saved, not deleted forever. That's the more artsy, floaty, version in their heads. So basically, one of the key points that keeps getting brought up with people that don't understand the movement, they say, so what does this mean for older games? This push and this law and this stuff going forward will mostly apply to new games, not old games, which sucks. But most people really, really hope that it applies retroactively to older games that were shut down and could come back, like letting fan servers, unlocking offline modes, releasing games and files and tools to where even there's a lot of competent people that do a lot of things online. They could release versions if the source code was made available, or just tools in general to interact with the source code. We've seen this on plenty of games where people take modding tools to a degree that is just so impressive. So if companies would just be a willing participant in that, and they didn't have to, rip the files and do all this extra work, it actually would be foreseeably easy. But does this apply to older games? No. I think a law going forward would apply to games going forward. The legal reality right now is no law enforces companies to bring back old games. If a new law was made, even though we hope that it'll be retroactive, which means games that have already come out, it probably won't allow fans to restore projects without getting sued. That's the big one. If you were to make a private server for a game right now and that private server got popular, you'd be sued into the ground. Okay? Now, I know what you're thinking, but that's only for games that are still going. That's illegal. Yes, but it also includes games that have not had a player in them for 10 plus years. There are games that are shut down that still have legal, they legally control the rights to that game, and they control the rights to put that game on a shelf and never give us a new version or bring it back. Star Wars Galaxies is one of those such games that I really liked. I thought Star Wars Galaxies was better. And listen, you guys can roast me on this if you want. Thought Star Wars Galaxies was better. It was a true MMO versus this Old Republic game. I do like the Old Republic game. I think it's an excellent single-player experience, but, that was a real MMO. So I liked it more, and it's gone. And stuff like this could lead into something like that. Now, here's what you're all here for: the juice, the Stop Killing Games pirate software debacle. A lot of people have not been able to wrap their heads around the situation, or they don't understand what's going on, and a lot of people don't care to put in the time or effort to explain it properly, or tell the truth for that matter. They're just like, oh, we get to hate on pirate software again. That's awesome. But here's what it is. Who is Pirate Software? Popular game developer who worked for Blizzard in the past. A Twitch streamer, talks about game dev and industry topics. He got really popular just, explaining to normal people about game dev stuff like I do. And he commented on the Stop Killing Games movement. Now I'm going to tell you what he claimed, and then I'm going to tell you why it's wrong. Okay? He claimed that the movement was demanding free access to all games, even once companies have shut down. That's not true. He thought it was about pirating games and forcing developers to keep servers up forever. That's not true. He said it was unrealistic and unfair to expect devs to do that. Basically, in a nutshell, he thought that this law would extort game developers, and it would only hurt indie developers and stuff like that. But most indie developers actually plan for this kind of stuff way ahead of time. Okay. Indie developers keep their games typically pretty open, very easy to do stuff with, and they don't. They just want their gameplay. It's not really a big deal for indies. He's making it seem like these devs are being attacked and being unfairly whatever, but it's not demanding free access to games. This wouldn't apply to games that are still up. Okay, so we would not have a situation where a game is still up and then you're allowed to just make your own private server. And he lied. He lied extremely hard on stream, and he would not take it back. But what the movement actually wants, based on what he said, is not free games and not piracy. Just wants, especially online ones, to be playable after companies have shut them down and have no more involvement, which means they're not making any more money from them. More or less. If a company closes a multiplayer game, they should let fans host servers or add an offline mode, right? But that's something else he said. He said that players were talking about having to have multiplayer games build in a single player mode to all their games. And that's not even what they're asking. That's not what they're asking. They're simply saying, have a way that when your game does inevitably close, if it does. A lot of games have been around for years. EverQuest has been around for years. Ultima Online has been around for years. Your game doesn't have to ever end, and your copyrights are still enforceable. Okay, this is something that you as a company would be allowing someone to do, not somebody forcing you to do. And adding single player modes in games is not what he, because he's misrepresenting it. It's not what they're asking. They're saying, if it's multiplayer, just add a way for access to be restored and allow people to keep playing. It's not necessarily, he misrepresented it, saying that the misrepresentation comes when he says adding a single player game to every multiplayer game. No one said that. No one is asking that. That is a lot of extra stuff. And most games are not going to be able to do that in the time frames that they want. They can barely finish a game in 3 years. Anyway, they want laws or rules to stop companies from making games vanish forever and shelving them to where no one can play them, even if they're not making any money at all, basically. And this could be a lucrative thing for them to keep their games online and act as a publisher for the game, essentially, by allowing licenses to be purchased legally from the company. I mean, it could be a very profitable thing where they don't have to run the servers, but they can still collect money from private servers and stuff that people who actually care and want to keep running stuff. But, you know, crazy, right? But companies are weird with people doing stuff with their IP. Now, what Pirate Software misunderstood was he thought people were asking to steal or to own games for free. He didn't realize the movement is about preserving access, not taking away money from the devs or time. It's about saving game history and respecting players' time and money, not keeping companies locked into service forever, which I still don't know how he misunderstood that. Let's be honest. Locking a company into service forever is like not possible. Okay, even legally speaking, I can't make you keep a game open forever. Okay, it just wouldn't be possible. Money's still a factor unless the government's paying. But yeah, Pirate Software basically made a big mistake by thinking stop killing games equals piracy and entitlement. But the truth is, the movement just wants a fair way to keep games alive after they've officially shut down, especially ones that people have paid for. And that's the biggest thing here. Pirate Software, the biggest thing that, in my mind, that he has said is saying that, you know, pirating, you're stealing, you're forcing. Like, motherfucker, we paid for the game. We paid for the game. And that's not to say that people wouldn't have to still pay for the game in this situation with a private server that they get from the company. I don't know how that revenue split would look. But that means they could keep selling the game. You know what I mean? That means people would be able to continue with the game and continue selling the game. And this would be a viable strategy, I think, for a lot of companies, in my opinion. Like, absolutely. But, you know, that's so annoying that he says that. And I think that's why, if you're wondering why a lot of people are mad, and I know that's why I'm mad, because I'm like, dude, it's not stealing if you fucking bought it. Like, you're out here fucking telling people that they're entitled. And I'm not kidding. Go watch him say this shit. It's wild. He's like talking down to people. He's like, you stupid fucking idiots, don't know what the hell you're talking about. Like, and he's intentionally misrepresenting it at this point. It's not like he misspoke and didn't know what he was saying and read it wrong. He literally is trying to make sure that it doesn't happen because he's against it. And it's wild because, look, I'm a dev. I'm going to tell you, when I heard about this, I thought of all the possibilities for companies that are struggling to keep games open, that could provide licenses where people who really love the game can continue to make the game. They can provide help and services to those people for a fee, and keep the company alive, and keep the IP alive, and keep the people who still love the game playing the game. I'm saying the amount of money that they can make by not even doing their own game is not a small amount. And, this used to be done a lot more, but we kind of got rid of that system where you could sell your IP off to a games library or like a games website, and they could bring it back, and then people would all like play the game again. This happened a lot with like different Asian ports. You would have an American port, and then you have an Asian port, and they'd be two different servers. You know what I mean? Like this used to happen. This was a thing that was profitable, but we kind of got rid of it for some reason. But I mean, you could get a misrepresentation of your IP. That's always something that you'd have to outline with the, person to person, like company to person. Like you'd have to say like, hey, if you do this, you're not allowed to like strip all the clothes off every single NPC and have them all naked. They would put rules and give them the rules and say, look, you can run this fan server if blah, blah, blah. And, this doesn't even have to be a thing where they pay every month, but it would work out for everybody. So I think I've completely and accurately summarized all this stuff. I'm hoping that you guys kind of understand it more. I will say this. Thor, which is the pirate software guy, he's such a dumbass because the funny thing about this whole situation, it's that 30 to 40% of the signatures, they were stalled out a little bit. They might not have made it. I do believe they did make it. I'm looking for any, I don't know. But anyway, I think that they're going to make it if they haven't, because his bullshit actually got a lot of people on board like really fast, and made a huge, absolutely massive push for this. Because the guy who originally did it, this guy right here, over here in the corner, this guy right here, he didn't have the pull to get 1 million signatures. And I don't think that that's wrong to say. I think without this drama, I think, ironically, he wouldn't have got his stuff done. But since Pirate Software's big old bitch and crying and whining and doing all this stuff, guess what happened? He caused it to get more popular. And listen, guys, I'm not being unfair. He's had multiple chances to be like, hey, I didn't mean it, or whatever. But either way, I answer every comment. I am a guy who gets on the internet and I tell the truth about stuff. I let y'all know what's going on. I don't fuck around. I don't add any extra bullshit. Sometimes I add extra bullshit, but it's fun stuff. But I want to know what you guys think about this. If I helped you out, that's fantastic. If you can throw me a sub, that'd be great. If you did make it to the end of this video, the YouTube machine is going to show you more of my videos anyway. Just sub. Become a part of the, obese Jack Black impersonator family. And just, it's a cool place to hang out. It's a cool place to... I make little dumbass videos, and sometimes they're helpful. But I answer every single comment, and I'd love to see you guys in the next one.